Welcome to the WAGSCast, a unique platform for empowering women and inspiring change, brought to you by Care Talks Women Achieving Greatness in Social Care Awards.
So, welcome back to WAGSCast episode 7, a Christmas special. And today we are joined by Kathryn Smith, the Chief Exec of Social Care Institute for Excellence, and also the winner of a Lifetime Achievement Award at WAGS last week. Congratulations, Kathryn.
Thanks, Anne.
And also Nadra, Ahmed, the co-chair of the National Care Association, and the winner of the Lifetime Achievement at WAGS last year. Congratulations, Nadra. So we do have two national treasures with us today. So thank you for joining us.
To be here. Thank you for having us.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, good to be here.
If you ladies are ready, I'm going to ask us our first question. And we all know that the festive season doesn't necessarily provide a break for women working in social care, us multitasking people. And in fact, juggling the demands of family and spreading Christmas cheer amongst colleagues and the people that we support can be completely overwhelming. As the wise women, as you have seen as the wise women, ladies, of social care, what gift of advice would you give to your social care colleagues?
Who do you want to start?
I'm going to start with you, Nadra.
Oh, I shouldn't have spoken, should I? I could have gone second. Oh, always the way. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a magical time of the year for so many people, and the people we support will have amazing memories of their lives with their families. And what we tend to do, and I remember this having been a care provider years and years ago, but for 20 odd years, just trying to make it as magical as we possibly could for the people that we were supporting, because this was their home and you work with that ethos. I think, but for yourself and your own mental health, sometimes you do have to sit back and think a little bit as we go towards it. And my one piece of advice to anybody out there who's watching this and has that kind of role of making it magical for those who we support is to stop treating your family with kid gloves and actually start to look at how much you can delegate to loved ones that are in the same home. So you don't have to be the master of everything that happens for your own family. So start with your own kind of family and work through what other people can now do, who can support you with whatever, shopping, getting the presents, wrapping them, putting up the tree, putting up, presents under the tree, food shopping, all of that. Get it into a kind of an agreement. I think it's time for like family meetings to say who's going to do which bit for us, so that we don't have the pressure on the day. Some people won't be celebrating. If you're a care worker, you probably won't be celebrating Christmas. If you're working, you'll be celebrating it on another day. All of those things have to be organised and arranged. But then if you've got a young family, you've got all of that to think through. So I think that delegation piece then carries through for me in your workplace as well. I think for your workplace, you've got to start looking at the important things, and that's about involving everybody. Your entire workforce team will have different skills, and you need to start involving all of them. So this isn't about just the senior team doing this and somebody else is in charge of putting the decorations up and it's about getting everybody together. And I remember some of our residents used to love making those paper chains. I don't know what they still do, but then when you saw them up there, they would be really excited. So it's about involving everybody. What does everybody want? And families can be really helpful as well, because some families who are regular visitors will want to be part of it. So I think involving people in the planning and playing to people's strengths, making sure that you will know the strengths of your workforce. But also, I think most importantly for me is managing expectations. You can only do what you can do. And this is a really challenging time for loads of people. And the unexpected things can happen. And it's about making sure that you manage the expectations. It doesn't have to be glitzy just because everybody else is being glitzy. Make it pertinent to the people that you're supporting. And if it's LD services, it might be slightly different in the way that you organise things. If it's older people, it's people with dementia. I never forget going into a home where there was beautiful potpourri and it was a high-level dementia home, and thinking, that's really nice and Christmassy, but I'm a bit worried about that. So it's about thinking about all of those things. I'll stop there, Anne.
Thanks, Nadra. You used my 2 words, delegation and planning. Wow, we must be on the same page.
Yeah.
Kathryn, what about you?
Yeah, planning was one of my words as well, actually. And for me, it's about, don't sweat the small stuff. I think we sometimes as women, we try to be superheroes, we try to be all things to all people, and we forget about the impact on ourselves at that. And I have to say, I don't think it even goes appreciated. I don't think people would notice if we were being superheroes or not, really. So I think about what's important to you, and plan that in. Think about how you're going to do it and who you're going to get to help you to do it, and make time to do that. For me, I tend to share Christmas with my mum and my sisters, and we take it in turns for whose house it's at, but we all share the chores, whoever's house it's at, and we help with the present buying and all that kind of thing. And I think that's quite important, as Nadra says. Don't assume that you've got to do everything. Get your families involved. And I'd say take some time for yourself. Book a couple of days off before Christmas for you to be able to think about yourself. You don't even have to think about doing things for other people. I'm taking a week off and going on holiday before Christmas, so that hopefully I'll come back feeling all relaxed and recharged and ready to go. So, give yourself some time, and give yourself some time off, whether that is to do something nice for yourself or whether it's to help you feel more organised for Christmas. And remember, it's supposed to be a time of rest. It's supposed to be a time to enjoy. It's supposed to be a time for reflection and for being with your families and loved ones. So if you spend the whole Christmas period stressing about what you have or you haven't done and panicking and worrying about it, there's kind of no point, really. Make it enjoyable.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, no, I completely agree with both of you, and I think with a large family, you do the thing that you think that you're the one that has to do everything. Oh, okay, I'll do that, leave it with me. I think Nadra's absolutely right with the delegation, because I think also people are waiting for you to give them something to do. And in the workplace, there are people who are better positioned to do some of those really niche and lovely things that maybe can do it better than you. So I'm an absolute delegator, and planning. We all know it's going to come. We all know what day it's on. We all know it's the end of the year, and we're all last minute kind of like rushing around. It's just like that planning.
I agree, and I don't think we'll ever change. I mean, I'm saying, giving all this great advice. I'm going on holiday on Friday and I haven't done anything yet. So yeah, my other piece of advice is do as I say, not as I do. But
yeah, I think it just happens, doesn't it? Because life takes over, and when you're working in this sort of field and you're doing all sorts of different things, you kind of, things take over. I always think about, we arranged everything, and then. I always remember as a care provider once standing back for a second thinking, I've got it all planned, and then realised we hadn't got the local school choir coming in or anything religious happening, because we'd got so taken up by everything else. But the generation we look after, actually for them, that would be a key bit as well. So I think it is about just that planning is key, Anne. Absolutely.
I also think we have to remember that, I've got, 3 kids and 7 grandkids, and, being asked to the school nativity play or to listen to the choir, and, in the past saying, look, I'm too busy, I'm just too busy, and then actually make that time is really, really important.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So guys, what do you think has been your guiding light that's kept you inspired in social care over a very, very challenging year?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, it has been a challenging year. There's no doubt about that. And I think the challenge is one that has been kind of growing year on year, specifically sort of financially. However, it's also been quite an interesting year, and there's been a lot going on. One of the things for me that I've found quite inspiring is the work that's been done in the innovation space. So, of course, Sky have been leading the Accelerating Reform Fund, which is looking at innovation in social care. And it's been fantastic seeing some of those things that are coming out and some of the things that people are doing differently to help to give people more independence, to give them the sort of choice and control to be able to live the lives that they want to live. and going out and seeing what people are doing with that and what difference it's making in people's lives. I think that's been quite exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where we can take that. Where is this going to end up, and how can this sort of emerging innovation really help to make a difference for social care going forward? So I think for me, the guiding light this year is looking at innovation. These challenges that we're having this year, as I say, they've been steadily growing over decades. Every single year I've ever worked in social care, we've been talking about not enough funding, higher demand, etc., etc. And every year that's getting a little bit harder and a little bit harder. So for me, we've got to think of different ways of doing things, because it doesn't matter what government we have, it doesn't matter what magic solutions somebody comes up to. Actually, it's not going to be a magic solution. We need to find different ways of doing things. So for me, innovation is the key here, and thinking about how we can do things differently to still be able to give people the ability to live the lives that they want to live in the way they want to live them.
And innovation normally comes out of a crisis, doesn't it? So
It
you
does,
get
absolutely.
ideas when you're under pressure. Nadra, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has been really, really difficult, and I think we've got to think about our workforce in many ways, about how, why do they come to work every single day? What helps them to come? And that's got to be that little smile from somebody, that there's a bit about earning, but I think there's something else that brings people to work every day. Why do we all go to work every day? And I think seeing people happy and cared for and warm and making a difference in somebody's life. But I think then for yourself, you've got to feel appreciated. You've got to feel that you're doing something right, and that you're growing in your role as well, so that we are working towards that. This has been an incredibly difficult year, and I just sitting thinking about that for something else that I'm writing. And I think, when you think about it, it started off quite a challenge with various things that kind of happened, and it's escalated. And I agree with Kathryn, it's got harder and harder as we've gone through. You kind of thought you come out of all sorts of things, come out of COVID, you think, we've survived. And as a sector, we're survivors. And the thing is to pat yourself on the back that as a sector, as providers, we've survived so much of this, and that's down to our own kind of resilience, our own ways of working, our own way of changing things, and thinking through how we can do things differently. And I think, innovation requires some investment, and I know some people will be thinking that through now, about how do we continue to innovate. How do we continue to do the best that we can when we are going to be looking at what could be a really kind of challenging funding year ahead? So I think, not to be gloomy about this, I think we've got to be thinking as providers, as people who work in the sector, that we are right. We're the people who have got it right, because we've got our criteria right. We know what should be happening. We may be held back because of some things, but we've always managed to come through it. And I remember sitting through COVID and thinking, my goodness, how is the sector going to come through it? But we do, because that resilience of what we do, of believing what we do is right, and then doing it right, and what brings us there. So, the shining kind of guiding light for all of us has got to be that we believe in what we do. We love what we do. We're committed to making it better. And working through the challenges, and that's got to be together. I think I've seen more collaborative work this year across the sector than I've ever seen before, and I think that's what will make the difference, and that's what will drive us to actually getting our voices heard.
Thanks. I mean, the same for me. My guiding light is actually just the people that we do support and care for. Having that, we're in a relationship business, and the relationships that staff build with individuals just to support, the most vulnerable in our society, just to make their lives just better. For me, that we have to keep doing that. We do believe what we do, and we have to fight the fight to ensure that is is grown and developed for our older generation. So what does keep you motivated, Nadra, in the most demanding days?
I think what keeps me motivated is my commitment to social care. I mean, I fell into it by accident. It wasn't something that was my pathway. You know, I'm in education. I was lecturing at a very at the time, but then I went into, you know, my base background is education. So to come into social care was quite accidental. But I think it's got to be the passion. What motivates me is that I know that we can change things. I know we can move forward. And I think we, you know, as a sector, we don't give ourselves enough credit. The narrative that we give ourselves is that we're almost hard done by, but actually we've achieved so much, you know, from the time when people used to walk into our care homes, drive into our care homes, that just, you know, they didn't need the care and support that people are delivering right now, which is hospital type care in a care setting, but in people's own homes, you know, all of those things. And this is the awful time. I remember when I had a domiciliary care service, and it was it was the winter time, that going into somebody's home to give them their tea at 4 o'clock, you know, those things are really challenging. And we've moved that, we've challenged ourselves, and we move forward, but we don't talk about it enough. And all the public here is about things that you know, really hard. But actually, if we concentrated 60% of our time on the achievements we make, you know what it's like, Anne. You've run the services. It's amazing when you make those. So when you get up in the morning, you know that you've got to take another step forward. You've got to take another step. People are relying on you. People need you to support them. And I think that is your driving force. Your workforce is your driving force, because you've got to get up there and lead by example. It's no point being the, you know, backseat leader where you kind of tell people how to drive, but you're not doing any of it yourself. So that motivates you as well to carry on and work as hard as you possibly can to make the difference, again, in the lives of the people we support. And that, I think, is what makes you get up in the morning.
I completely agree with you. And just as a conversation that I had with one of my senior staff members quite recently, when she said, you can't be down, because that's like watching your mum cry. You can't be down. Yeah. And I think that leadership piece is that actually you have to lead by example. And if you want your staff to be motivated and ready for anything, then that's what you have to do as well. So
I think, just before we go on, and just from you saying that, I think there's a trust, confidence and respect that your staff have, because when they know that you're working as hard as you are and you're down, they want to pick you up as much. Yeah. That's great leadership, because that's about them picking you up, because they trust you just as much as you trust them.
Absolutely. And I think honesty is one of the biggest parts of communication as well. Yeah. You know, I'm motivated by the honesty. I'm happy that my staff can come and be really honest, even if it may not be what I want to hear. I do, because it's the right thing. How about you, Kathryn? What motivates you in those most demanding days?
Well, I think for me, it's the kind of reason that we're here. The reason I came into the job, and most people come in or stay into the job, is about making the difference and seeing that difference and seeing the impact that you can have on people when we get it right. And I always try to go out, because in my job now, I don't work directly with people so much. Sky's not a service-based organisation, so a lot of the work we do is to support professionals within their work. But I make a point of going out to visit services as often as I can to see what kind of issues, challenges and impact we're having. And when I see the real difference that we're making in social care and the impact that we're having, and how much we can support people to improve their own lives, then that really motivates me and keeps me wanting to do what we're doing. And actually, equally the other way around, when I see people not being able to live the lives that they want to live because of a lack of social care, that makes me feel very determined that we want to get that right. And perhaps that's been a bit of a motivator this year, actually, because it feels like there's such a lot that we need to do to get that right. But You know, for example, in my hobby, I do work with horses. I do some carriage driving with horses, and there's a young woman that's in the competition with me. She keeps beating me, which is quite annoying. But but you know, she wouldn't be able to do that without good social care. She's disabled. She's relying on her PAs to be able to support her to get there, and she's been able to, because of her personal budget, she's been able to recruit the kind of peers that can support her to do what she needs to do, peers that know about horses, that can help her there. And, you know, if you go back to before we had personalisation, before we had the idea of personal budgets and personal choice, she wouldn't have been able to do something like that, because that kind of independent and personalised support wouldn't have existed. So to me, seeing the impact, and even though it feels frustrating that we seem to be having the same conversations, and we've been having these same conversations for 30 years in terms of getting the social care and support right, actually we have moved on, we are making a difference, and we make a good difference to people's lives. And I think to be able to encourage people to want to come in and work in social care, they need to feel that. They need to feel valued. They need to feel that they're making that difference, and that we are doing a great thing that's greatly valued. And we should be doing that completely informed by the people that draw upon social care and support, telling us what it is that they need. What should we be doing in that space?
Can I just say that, you know, as a leader in social care, both of you have motivated me this year, so thank you for that. Right, you know, we've all got elves, we've all got staff. What's your one top tip of making sure that team members feel appreciated for their hard work in this festive season?
So that's about positive leadership. I think it's about being positive. I think if you actually lead, you know, by example, but also, I don't mean that by personal, but if you're saying to somebody, do it this way, you actually do it that way yourself as well. Otherwise, it just doesn't kind of sink in. But I do think saying thank you, even if somebody's done a tiny bit more, even if they're 5 minutes late leaving their shift, just to say thank you for staying behind to do whatever it was. I think that goes a long way. Talking to people, talking to your teams, and showing your appreciation, but also talking to them about their own challenges that they might be having. I know we've got the formal kind of appraisals and everything that go on, but when you're walking through a care setting, or you're talking to your team about something, just being able to say to them, you know, is everything okay at home? Is all that kind of stuff. You've got to build, you know, as we were saying, that trust and confidence. And actually, if there's a vulnerability, I've always believed that the team need to know there is a vulnerability somewhere in the business or with yourself, because you want them to be able to come to you and say, I'm really having a rough week, or, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things that really helps. Remembering family things that they might be doing. You know, if somebody's told you it's their mum's birthday, remembering to ask, how did it go? All of those things make a huge difference, because that's your investment in the relationship that you want with the people that you're working with. And that's about respecting them. That's about trusting them, to keep confidences, you know, to talk to them. I do think there's something about, you know, I think that this time of the year, you know, there's all sorts of Christmas parties and things going on, and all, you know, allowing them to tell you what they want to do. Do they want to go for a staff lunch, or would they prefer to leave it till January, or would they prefer to do something different? I think all of those things, again, make a difference. Either there's got something to look forward to, so that they can get that. And I think we can never forget that they will be, like all of us, under pressure at home, especially if they've got young kids. And what can we do to you know, what can we do to help them with that? Is that a few hours to go off shopping, which, or whatever, you know, something that helps them. So I think it's that bit about just being, this is a time to actually think that through, and being part of a team, which you're including, and that will be the A team.
I completely agree. And I think we do have to remember that we are part of that team,
Yeah.
that we are a team, and without them, we have no
Yes.
team. So actually the respecting of what they do. I work in, as you know, in community care, and I do feel that a lot of my staff actually, they love this time of year. They love to work at Christmas because a lot of people that they're visiting, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, that's the only person they're going to see. In a care home setting, there is an atmosphere where other people are there, where you're sharing the giving of gifts and lunch. And I think in domiciliary care and community care, there's a lot of people that are on their own. And my staff actually say, oh, I want to work because I support this person all year, and I actually want to be there on Christmas morning to see them. Yeah. So that's always helpful. Kathryn, what about you?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's
giving your elves.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's much to add from what Nadra said, because I agree with everything that Nadra said. But I think the main thing is to recognise and thank people. They want to feel appreciated. It's too easy for us to not notice a good job because a good job happens most of the time. So it's too easy for us to not notice that. We're much more likely to draw to what needs to improve or what could be better. And we do that about ourselves as well. It's the classic, report card. You bring home a report card that's got 5 A's and 1 F, and the parents immediately go to the F, and we don't recognise all the A's on that report card. And I think, just thanking the people that you work with for the little business as usual bits that they're doing well, recognising that people are putting a lot of work in. Most people that work in social care probably put in more hours than they're paid to put in. We all give most of ourselves to this job because it's why we're here. So I think recognising that in people and giving that thank yous, and again, like Nadra said, recognising that people do have a life outside of the job, and showing interest in that and giving people time to enjoy that and time to do that, and having the opportunity to talk about it at work. And I think depending on how you're working as well, if you're working in a community-based service, or like us, you're working where everybody's home-based, it's too easy to not have that sort of general conversation and chit-chat and find out what's going on in people's lives and be able to talk about somebody's children, somebody's wedding, somebody's hobbies, somebody's holiday, and just remembering the human side of our relationships, and talking to each other in that way, and not just being about the tasks and the job all the time, and making sure we give thanks where it's due.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think remembering names is really, really important. Just remembering someone's name is so important. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think our Christmas miracle for social care would be this year? I just want to start that because both of you guys are in part of that. And I think that Nadra actually mentioned it earlier. I have never known the sector come together, both national, local, providers who may not even be in care associations, have really united. And I know, Nadra, that you've been a big part of this, but you've been in care associations for a lot of years, as have I. And I just think that this year, that's the miracle. The miracle is we are all singing from the same hymn sheet. We are all relying and kind of leaning on each other for information, for support. I just think that's my social care miracle this year. How about you, Kathryn?
Yeah, I think that's really true. And I think, one of the things that I've spoken about before is when you're trying to improve policy or practice, or trying to change policy and practice, one of the easiest ways to avoid that is to divide and conquer. And I think when the sector is not all working together and it's got different views, and there'll be good reasons for different views, but it gives people, politicians, whoever else, a way in to not necessarily do what needs to be done, or not to be able to make a decision. And I think seeing everybody coming together, all singing from the same hymn sheet. There are areas we'll have different views in, but the things that matter, the things that really make the difference, I agree with you. We're all on the same page there. I think it would be a miracle if there was enough funding made available for us to be able to achieve what we all wanted to achieve this year. But I don't think this will happen this year, but this would be a Christmas miracle one year perhaps, is when I look at some of the really innovative new ways of doing things and some of the services that I've been out to see, where they are frankly more expensive than other services, but actually the difference they're making and the impact they're having is actually saving money in other areas. And for me, it would be a huge miracle if we could recognise that actually if we really invested well in good social care and really supported people to live their best lives, then actually it would probably make savings elsewhere, because we would save money in other parts of the system. And I think that's probably hoping for a bit too much for that to be a miracle this year, but perhaps a miracle one year.
I'll keep the fingers crossed for that one, Kathryn. How about you, Nadra?
Well, I think the Christmas miracle for us has got to be about us changing the narrative as a sector, us talking about what a great job we all do, rather than feeling disempowered, which I think we all do because of the enormous challenges that lay ahead. But if we just for a moment switched the challenges off and talked about the difference that we make in a much more positive way, I think the narrative has got to change, and I think that's where the united sector can change it. I think we start talking about what we do well and how we make people's lives much better. That person sitting alone at home on Christmas Day getting a visit is what the sector is all about, and people being welcomed into care homes. I mean, I used to have residents who used to say to me they didn't want to go home because all they had was noisy great-grandchildren running around, and they'd much rather spend it with the people they spent all their year with. So I think it's that narrative about being, the additional things that we offer. I think it's an amazing sector. I think we do want to talk about that much more. Funding is a challenge. It would be great if we suddenly got through any settlement some additional funding to support the sector to get through next year, because that's got to be a Christmas wish, that's got to be a New Year wish that we go forward with. But I think the other bit that's really important, that would really make my day certainly be magical, if people stood up and actually talked back to decision makers and really used what we've got now is this amazing kind of mainstream grassroots type of feeling that we all want our voices to be heard, and it's how we get to those decision makers, and not worry about who's doing what. It doesn't matter. That's a political decision, who's leading what, who's not leading, we've got to do this together, and everybody will have a unique part to play in this, and that unity is what will make the difference.
As I say, I think that this has been a year for unity and for a realisation from the sector itself that it's got to fight its own battle, it's got to stand up, and we stand together. But finally, that is nearly our time up, it's been so lovely to talk to you, and the time's gone really quickly. But what should our New Year's resolution be for social care then? What we've done our kind of miracle, but what should we make as our New Year's resolution?
Me to jump in? Oh, you're going, Nadra? Okay.
No, go on, Kathryn. I'm thinking.
Yeah, because this one comes to my head quite quickly, actually, because for me, I think our New Year's resolution across the sector should be about how we make sure that we are involving people drawing upon care and support in everything that we do, how we make sure we're truly co-producing the social care and support that we develop and that we provide and that we deliver. And on that, those of us that have got the opportunity to influence government or policymakers or anybody else, really encouraging those government policymakers to also be listening to the people that draw upon care and support, to see what really would make a difference for them in social care. As we look about what is the reform that's needed in social care, that needs to be really led and informed by the views of people that actually draw upon care and support. There is nobody knows better what they need than they do, and for me that should be all of our New Year's resolutions in social care.
So I think mine's similar, but slightly in a slightly different way. I think my New Year's wish, if you like, is that anybody and everybody who needs care and support is able to access it. That's where we've got to get to, and everybody who's struggling to care for somebody gets a voice, because we shouldn't have this invisible army of people out there who are doing more than they possibly can, and they end up in the system. So I think and that goes back to the value of good social care, And I suppose my greatest wish will always be that social care is recognised for the amazing contribution it makes to one single person at a time across our country.
And I think for mine's very much the same as yours, but mine's actually recognising and thanking, the providers of those services, that actually they are doing a really good job, and we recognise how difficult it is to do, but just patting each other on the back, saying we're doing okay, we're doing a good job for the people that we are actually serving. Lovely. Thank you so much for your time today. I know that you're both really, really busy people, and I really do appreciate your time. I hope you both have all your Christmas wishes that you've planned and delegated well. Yes. And that, Kathryn, you have a very good holiday.
Yeah.
And I'll see you on the other side next year.
Thank you. Thank you both, and have a great Christmas and New Year.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.